Hi there, my name's Simon, and in this video I'll be giving you an overview and walkthrough of Halpern drums. To get started, let's load up the library. To load the library, either drag and drop the halperndrums.nki file into Contact, which will load the library, or browse to the library using the Files tab inside of Contact and load it from there. Halpern drums can't currently be added to the Libraries tab, so if you try to add a library using this dialog, you'll get a library is not found message. Now that we've loaded the library, let's have a look through the main UI. The UI is divided into 5 main tabs. The first 4 tabs are used for swapping out different parts of the kit and for mixing the different parts of the kit. On the settings page, you can customize your drum map, load a couple of presets, clear the map, as well as set up a global velocity curve. So let's start out with some mixing. One thing to keep in mind when you're using this library is that each part of the kit gets sent to the microphone positions individually. So for instance, on the kick page, we have a far room mic position, but on the snare page, we also have a far room mic position. So if I turn down the far room completely on the snare and turn up far room completely on the kick, I'll get the sound of the kick through the far room mic, and the sound of the snare won't be coming through the far room mic. So it's not quite like mixing typically as you would with just a regular old recording. And in a way, it gives you sort of a perfect gate with no mic bleed, which is one of the advantages of having a sampled instrument. I've got a quick little bit of demo MIDI here, so I'll just have a play through it. I'll play with some of the different mic sliders and play with swapping out different parts of the kit. As you can see, we've got full control over the volume, phase, mute, solo, and panning for each channel. And if you control-click any of these sliders, they'll reset to their default positions. For panning, that's centered, and for the volume faders, that's 0 dB. To swap out different parts of the instrument, you can just click on these little drop-downs and select a different instrument. You can also click on any of these to get a preview of what it'll sound like. If we come on over to the settings page, I'll show you how to customize the drum map. To start out, you can load a couple of presets. Currently, we've got presets for GM and superior maps, as well as the GGD map, which uses every part of the kit. That's one problem with the GM and superior maps, is that the maps don't actually support every articulation that was recorded. As you can see, for instance, there's no snare off articulation. However, if I want to add this articulation in, or if I want to customize my map, I've got 2 different ways to do that. I'm just going to start out with a blank map by hitting Clear Map, and let's start building a map from scratch. There's 2 different ways I can map articulations. I can either use the drop down here and click the note manually, or I can click on the articulation itself and then hit a key. You can do this with all of the articulations in the kit, and if your DAW has an octave offset, for instance, different DAWs will treat MIDI 0 as either C-2 or C0 or maybe something even weirder. No problem, you can shift your map up and down to your heart's content and make it match up with your DAW or just with your preference. If you're using a MIDI controller, it might be advantageous to use the velocity curve. For instance, if you've got a MIDI controller that's very sensitive, that tends to play higher dynamic levels more easily, you can use one of the light curves to sort of counteract that. And the other way around, if you've got a MIDI controller where you need to hit the keys really hard to get the higher dynamics, you can use one of the heavy velocity curves. This is set to linear by default, and I tend to leave it at linear, especially if I'm sequencing something. Lastly, it's worth noting that if you customize your map and save a project with Halpern drums inside the project, that map will be preserved and loaded back up when you load the project back. We currently don't have a way to create your own presets, but that'll be coming in an update. So that's really everything there is to it. I'll have one more playthrough and just play with a couple more of the different parts of the kit so you can get a feel for what it sounds like. And in another video, I'll be talking about routing each of these mic positions to its own track inside of your DAW, so it'll be just like mixing a regular old drum kit. But for now, let's have another play around with the library. Alright, that's all for today, and thanks very much for watching.